But I've started talking about how people say, what is beer to whiskey? I say it's everything between beer and whiskey in the dictionary. And come to find out, wine is not between beer and whiskey in the dictionary.
See?
So we're stuck.
I mean,
We're stuck with what we got.
I'm as happy to get old lady drunk on wine as anybody else. Coming to you virtually live from the taproom floor at Greenville Beer Exchange, or GBX as a lot of folks call it, on Lawrence Street in glorious downtown Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Russ Heaps. Welcome to this episode of Big John in 5. It's where I get my good buddy here, Big John Richards, to pick a beer from one of GBX's 22 or so taps, or hundreds of cans and bottles in the retail store up front. They have wine too, but we don't have time for that shit. We sniff it, we sip it, we kibitz about it. Sometimes we get a little background on the brewery and a little history of brewing itself. And having said all that, John, what are we doing?
Well, I want to address this wine thing.
John wants to do wine.
I do. I thought it would be a very fun idea, but I was like, we should do some wines. We should bring some wine people in because wine is fun. We have fun. Fun with wine. But I've started talking about how people say, what is beer to whiskey? I say it's everything between beer and whiskey in the dictionary. And come to find out, wine is not between beer and whiskey in the dictionary.
See?
So we're stuck.
I mean,
we're stuck with what we got.
I'm as happy to get old lady drunk on wine as anybody else. That's all I drink. That's usually my go-to beverage when I'm out in downtown Greenville. But I save the more serious stuff when I'm home. But we've only got so much time. There's so little time and so many.
That's not what Willy Wonka said.
So many liquors and beers.
That's also not what Willy Wonka said.
Trying to shoehorn wine into this thing too. What do we got?
We got one of my all-time favorite beers. And we were talking about this. This will be the second time today that I've said, I don't remember if we've done this before, but if we have, we're doing it again.
I am 99.9% sure we have not done this one.
This has been one of my favorite beers for about as long as I've been a beer drinker. I didn't find it immediately, but pretty daggone close. And back when I was working at Barley's, which 15 odd years ago, when this, God, rest in peace.
Yep.
This beer showed up at Barley's, and the first time somebody popped one for me. You should try this. You should have that. You will like this. This beer is one of the beers that was like arresting, stopped me in my tracks. How good this beer is. This is a wheat Dopplebock, which isn't normal. I don't know. Honestly, I can't think of another one right this second. I'm sure they're out there, but Aventinus
I didn't know there was such a thing.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think this beer exists in
maybe
nature.
That's where I got the idea.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
But it's a dark wheat beer Doppelbock. And I didn't look up the ABV. I think it's like 8.3. It's not on Draft Russ. Oh, I can't read that. Can you read that?
I can't.
If I hold it up to the light. 8.2. Look how close I was.
You were close.
Still, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. 8.2. So we're...
Buddy.
We're calling Buddy in. Buddy's getting tagged in.
We're bringing him into the game.
That's right.
We're bringing him into the game.
Buddy's in the game. Bock is lager. but it's usually a higher alcohol strength lager. There's a lot of consternation about where the word Bock may have come from, but Bock is the German word for goat. It's just, I mean, seriously, that's just the...
What's that have to do with lager?
Nothing. But Bock, and especially Doppelbock beers, all have goats on their label. For that reason. There's a lot of, again, no one really knows why Bock got called Bock, but the best answer I've been able to find is that the first Bock beers of note came from Einbeck, and if you walked up to a bar and said,
Give me an Eine.
Einbeck bitte. And so we talked about how the German beers all are named for the town that they're from, so it could be a Becker beer. If you walked up to the bar and said, Einbeck bitte, the bartender would immediately start making fun of you and say, Einbach? If I were alive 400 years ago, that's what I would have done.
That would have been
a goat?
That would have been hilarious 4 centuries ago. It knocked them out. It knocked them out.
So that's your beer lesson. This beer.
Are you saying if it's a Bock, it's wheat?
No. No.
What
the
does
wheat
Bock...
part is the part that's unusual.
Okay, so what is Bock typically?
It's usually a amber high alcohol lager.
Okay.
And by high alcohol I mean like 6%.
High alcohol.
High alcohol.
European.
High alcohol.
Sense of high.
In a normal non-American sense of the word. Because we have a weird idea.
We'll let their Europeans have their big beers, their 5.2s and 5.4 beers.
You were right on it. I went to this club. It was a jazz club in Prague, and I walked in the door and they had 2 beers. They had beer and they had strong beer. And the beer was like 4.6. And the strong beer was 5.2. I was like, wow.
That'll put you on your ass.
That's eye-opening.
Yeah,
that most of the rest of the world considers 5% beer strong beer.
Drinkable, crushable. Yeah,
here it's like, oh, it's a session beer. It's only 5.5.
Yeah.
Like,
drink those all day.
Right? Yeah, it should be fine. All right, back to business, Russ.
Okay.
We don't want this to become 23 minutes.
No, but we are gonna go over.
23 minutes is becoming a thing.
We are gonna go over 10.
Oh, I'm certain that we are. God willing.
He doesn't have to edit these things. I do.
I'm working on becoming the guy, or helping the guy.
Be the guy.
Be the guy. I got aggressive with that one somehow.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. Very aggressive. No, we're going to figure that part out later. So,
do they have a straw here, you think?
We're going to talk about how pretty that beer is. So, this beer is a dark wheat Doppelbock at 8.2. And it carries these big, you get like the figs and bananas sort of thing going on in this thing with a little chocolate in the back. And it is super, super fun.
Look at the carbonation.
I know. It's
you can't see it here, or you can't see it with the lights, or I'd show you, but man, there's just this
aggressive
cascade of carbonation, bubbles rising up.
We're not going to talk about that today, Russ. We're going to talk about that another day.
Okay.
We have this very unique thing here. This very unique wheat Doppelbock, chocolate, figs, raisins, bananas. And I'm very excited for you to try it. I want us to try it. And then I want to tell a story. I was hesitating, dancing around the whole thing because I want to tell a story.
What's the head on this?
I know, it's beautiful. Everybody likes good head.
Must be Saturday. I don't know what that means. Text Miss Lily. Yeah, I do.
It's not Saturday. We made it happen. It's the richness, the texture, the finish on this is absolutely
That is killer.
perfect.
That is killer.
And I am so glad that I get to share this beer with you because of how fondly I hold this in my heart. That beer is so good.
I'm getting both some breadiness out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm getting like a caramel. A little bit of caramel.
Yeah, I think
Or
there's definitely some caramel toffee, that's caramelized sugar sweetness
Yeah.
in there. And anything that's this dark, you would expect to find that. If you find this color, you're going to find that flavor. But there's a little bit of the banana that comes out of a Weizen that's in this because of the wheat. Just a little. And there's a little chocolate in the back. And that little bit of raisiny fermentation flavor.
There's a lot going on in that beer.
Oh, bro, we could sit here and talk about flavors for the next 30 minutes because there is a ton going on in this beer. Those high notes are where I'm at, but this is a beer that you could sit down and spend an hour with, and it would continue to change, continue to get better, continue to open up and give you new things, and every sip gives you a little something different. This is our palate cleanser. We just did a Malort episode, and that's what we call a teaser. You should go check out the Malort episode.
If you need to remove paint from your barn siding or clean out a drain,
That's correct.
this is some serious stuff.
But this is a bold enough flavor, Russ, that I think it's pushing through any of the lingering effects of that Malort. Because this is a big beer. And honestly, you want your big beer to taste like big beer. This is super smooth and very well balanced, but it's a big beer.
I get the sense that it's like when you drink a wheated beer, a wheated bourbon.
Yeah.
That it sort of mellows the taste profile a little.
Yeah, but
And
it
that-
also leaves something extra too.
Right. The flavors are good, but it feels like there ought to be maybe something bigger happening there that's not.
I agree with you. I think I know what you're saying. Like you expect this wallop from these big flavors, but the balance is so good.
It is. Boy, it is just smooth as smooth.
So these guys, and you can't see it there, but their logo, Schneider Weisse, is the brewer, or Schneider is the brewery. Schneider Weisse is their flagship. Believe it or not, this is not, which I think is a travesty. But I'm not in charge of that.
But if
they-
he were king for a
If
day,
I were king for a day,
he'd fix this.
I would. Yeah, this would become the thing. But the German words here at the bottom of their logo, and I'm stroking. Say, I have to get it right. Bayern's Alteste Weissbierbrauerei, which is Bavaria's oldest wheat beer brewery. So these are the guys that kind of made it so that wheat could be included in the Reinheitsgebot, in the German purity law.
Oh,
It says you can only brew with barley, water, yeast, and hops. Well, wheat is included, I think, largely because of Schneider, because they've been brewing this beer for so long. They're like, what about our beer?
They got great grandfathered in.
Right. So, the risk of making this a 23-minute episode, I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you guys a story. Because this is...
I hope you have a beer.
Oh, please. For the love of God, if you don't have a beer, go get a beer. Russ may need more. I think that you should.
I do need. I got short.
So, as I said, this has been one of my favorite beers for a very long time. And I went to Germany, as you may remember.
I do.
So,
I'm surprised you remember.
Tell me about it. All I did, I've canceled all my plans, and I booked. My plane left the United States on January 1st, and I returned on January 31st. That part I knew. The rest of it I canceled, and I booked 2 nights in Munich. My second night in Germany were in Munich, and I was like, well, I'm going to start there. We're going to see what happens. So I got there.
Who does that? Who goes to Europe? Who's not some goofy, I just graduated college and I'm going to backpack around Bavaria or something. What adult goes over there and goes, gee, what am I going to do next?
Old enough to know better, but still too young to care.
I am not exaggerating. We'd get together, some of us that knew he was gone, and we'd be like, anybody heard from John? And we'd be like, nope. What do you think? Well,
I told all you guys that I could only communicate by WhatsApp because I got to be on Wi-Fi.
We were just all like...
Just hoping for the best. I get to Munich, and this will play right into what you just said. I get to Munich, I spend my first day there, I go do some things, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing there, why I'm there, how to accomplish this dumb, ridiculous thing that I set out to do. And into that first day, I woke up that second day and I was like, what am I doing here? This is ridiculous. I should go home. Like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done.
And that's a high bar. Let me tell you what.
It's a high bar.
Yeah, there's a high bar.
And so I'm like, all right, I'm going from here, I know that I want to go to Prague. Rather, I want to go to Pilsen so I can drink Pilsner where it was invented. I was like, I'm going to find my way to Prague. And since I'm 2 hours from Vienna, I'm going to go to Vienna. So I booked these train tickets to leave the end of the second night.
You had a rail pass, though, right?
Yeah, I had a rail pass, so I could travel wherever I wanted.
Right. He did plan that far ahead.
I did at least think that far ahead. But, so I booked my train tickets, and I'm thinking, all right, I have to be on this train, yada, 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 yada. It doesn't matter. What matters is I was like, I'm just going to sit in my hotel room until it's time for me to leave and lick my wounds, and I figure out why I'm feeling sorry for myself. And so I'm sitting there, and I pulled up my phone, and I'm like, all right, let me just see what's around here. And I looked it up, and I wasn't far from the Marienplatz, which is one of the big famous places in Munich. And what pops up is Schneider. And I was like, shit.
No, Schneider.
Yes, Schneider. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't be 2 miles from the Schneider brewery and not go have an Aventinus. It's been my favorite beer for too long. I have to go. So I put myself together and I walked in. I got myself down there on the train, found the brewery, walk in, and the brewery's packed. I walk in, the guy says, do you have a reservation? In German.
No, I threw all my reservations out the window.
I responded, no, I'm sorry, I'm an American, in German. It's just me. And he said, and then he switched to English, and he said, oh, then you can sit anywhere. I was like, oh, all right, great. And that's that beer hall thing where everything is community. If we were sitting here, we would expect that some other random person would come and sit down across the table from us, or couple. You know, if there's 2 more seats, 2 more people go sit down next to you. They're going to be people you don't know, and it's beautiful. I love that about that aspect of what I found in Germany. Anyway, I find my way in, find this sideboard table with a couple of other guys that are obviously independent, and I weaseled my way in. And
by independent, you mean single? They're by themselves? What do you mean by independent?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's exactly what I mean.
What,
Thank you for translating.
What a way to put that. Yeah. I'm here independently.
I like a good turn of phrase, Russ.
Yes, that's a good spin. That's a good spin to put on that.
So I sit down and I decide that I'm going to have my Aventinus and some food. So I order dinner, and there's a beer girl waiting on us. And I say beer girl, but she was probably approaching 60 or in her 60s, but she was a very attractive young lady. And that's going to play into the rest of this story. As we get to,
are we getting close to the end?
We're getting close to the end. We're not going to make 23. I've had, I think, my dinner and 2 beers. And she comes over and she's taking my dinner away. And she says, "Oh, how was everything?" And I already hate that because that's a dumb question. You can't answer that question. It's not possible to answer that question. Because you can't answer how was everything. How was everything is a question that cannot be answered. So that set me off in my brain. And when my brain goes off, I lose control. And so she said, "How was everything?" And I said, "You know, everything was great. This has been such a good experience. The beer's been wonderful. I don't mean to be too forward, but would you marry me?"
To which she responded, "Wow, I thought I did a good job."
She said, Oh, no speak English." And then to which the other 2 guys that were sitting at my table started laughing. I was like, "What?" And she goes, no speak English. No, look, ring. And I said, "Wrong finger." And she said, "No speak English. We had a ball with that. So that's my story of how I made peace with why I went to Germany. And it's all because of Aventinus.
And as Paul Harvey would say, and that's the rest of the story.
That's the rest of the story.
So damn lucky. See you next time.